Welcome back to your Healing Buddy podcast with your host, Adina Godet. I am a licensed psychotherapist who enjoys having conversations all about the different areas of mental health. I pray that from every episode, someone takes at least one nugget and is able to apply it to their personal life. Thank you so much for tuning in. Enjoy. Hey, you guys. Welcome back to your Healing Buddy podcast. I'm Adina Godet. I'm a licensed therapist here in North Carolina, and we are here with another episode. So we were talking about anxious attachment styles in the previous video. Today, we're going to talk more about the avoidant attachment style. Someone with an avoidant attachment style always needs space for some reason. When things get too emotional, they're out. They struggle to express their own feelings. Sometimes people with avoidant attachment, they start to ask themselves, why do I pull away when things feel too close for me? Why do I feel overwhelmed by emotional needs? Why do I shut down instead of open up? You ever seen somebody that you were in a disagreement and they always said, oh, I have to leave. I have to go. I'm gonna go. I need to go clear my head. But a lot of times it's in the middle of something. You were good when everything was fine. But when you hit an emotional point, and what truly makes it avoidant is not necessarily that they left, but when they come back, they still don't want to talk about it. Nothing has changed. So you felt like, why did you leave and go for 3 hours? Or why did you not talk to me for a full day? If we're going to come back and have a conversation, you had your space, you had your time to think about it. Why are we not revisiting the conversation? That's truly where the avoidant is. A lot of times someone who's avoidant has an underlying belief that relying on others is unsafe or unnecessary. They kind of have a fear of dependence. That discomfort for emotional closeness keeps them moving away from people instead of moving towards them to reconcile. Emotional distance from people, not because they don't have feelings or emotions, but because they're hiding them and they've learned not to depend. So if we're talking about where it may come from, usually in childhood, a lot of the times you may have had a parent or both parents who were emotionally unavailable caregivers. They always minimized your emotions. They always told you to toughen up or always asked, what are you crying for? Crying's not going to fix anything. Anytime you shared how you felt about something, they devalued it. They didn't validate it at all. They didn't even come to hear your explanation or why you felt that way. It was always just dismissed. Basically, when emotions are not welcome, you learn to become self-sufficient and emotionally independent. In turn, now you have difficulty expressing your emotions because when you had time to practice when you were younger, you weren't really given the chance. Your needs were ignored. Also, sometimes it's not just in childhood. If you had a relationship or a friendship where someone may have said that you were too much or they might have been avoidant, you might have trained yourself and maybe people pleased or lacked that boundary. So you continued on with that relationship even though it was unhealthy. So now you may shut down in conflict instead of learning how to talk it out and have emotional regulation. You avoid vulnerability. You create distance when things are getting too real for you or too deep for you. A lot of times you'll minimize relationship needs because you haven't learned how to deal with how you actually feel about the issue. So you avoid it altogether, even though it may be hurting a partner. And a lot of times you crave closeness, you want to be close, but without the additional emotional pressure or emotional responsibility that comes with it. So a lot of times you deflect or you just say, I don't need anyone. A lot of times, like I said in a previous video, avoidant partners usually attract anxious partners and vice versa. The anxious partner pulls closer, is kind of more clingy. They're always apologizing even if it's not their fault. And the avoidant just continues to withdraw and leave. A lot of times that creates emotional highs and lows in the relationship, and it also creates a push-pull dynamic. It keeps both people stuck in a cycle, and it is very unhealthy and toxic. So when there are issues, or just in general, if there's emotions, deeper emotions involved, internally it can feel overwhelming to an avoidant. They're going to think, oh my gosh, this is too much. Oh, I need space. I don't have the capacity for this. And of course they don't have the capacity because again, they didn't practice it within themselves. So emotions don't feel safe. They might ask all the time, well, why are you so emotional or why are you so sensitive? But in reality, they don't even have a balance of emotion. Also, if too much emotion is involved, especially negative emotion, the avoidant feels like they have a loss of control. because it's not in their scope. Just like I said before, just because you may be avoidant in one area or with a group of people such as your family or a partner or with friends or at your job doesn't mean you are avoidant across the board. Could be avoidant with the family and actually secure with a partner. Or you might be avoidant with friends and very close with family. Sometimes it's about who or what is triggering them to be avoidant. But some people are avoidant across the board, but that doesn't mean that they have to be avoidant for the rest of their lives. It is something that you can learn to build a secure relationship or just healthier habits when it comes to emotional regulation. Security, when it comes to avoidance, starts with just allowing emotions to be there and not avoiding them. You have to increase your emotional awareness. So understanding that emotions can fluctuate, understanding that emotions are not facts, understanding that I can be sad and I can go cry for a little bit and allow it to happen and encourage myself and give myself a safe space to feel that emotion. I can be mad and not have to yell at somebody, but I can go figure out how to process that emotion and say, okay, validate it. I am upset right now. However, how can I move past this and display this in a healthier way where I can communicate? Understanding that just because you feel an emotion now doesn't mean you'll feel it later, but also understanding that everything doesn't have to be out of proportion. I don't have to have negative emotions and they have to be so severe, or I have to act out in a certain way. So now I'm scared of the emotion. And also, my emotions are valid. I can feel whatever way I feel about this. Somebody else doesn't have to feel that way or understand, but I need to make sure I process what I felt because obviously I was triggered in some way by it. So instead of suppressing, I increase my emotional awareness. A lot of times you have to practice vulnerability in small steps. You don't have to open up about everything. You don't have to share every single thing in detail all at once. So start with little things that you don't feel like are gonna give you too much of an emotional drain. Be intentional about the smaller steps, and if you feel safe within yourself, you can feel safe to share it. Also, sometimes letting the other person know, hey, I am not really good at this and I'm practicing this, so they can respond in a certain way. Because if they respond in a way that's blown up or taking it personally, then of course, you're also not going to feel emotionally safe. Then you're going to withdraw again. But understanding that closeness is not a threat, it's actually a gift. Learning how to communicate instead of withdrawing. So you want to leave so bad, but you better force yourself to sit there. Even if you're quiet for a little bit, gather your thoughts. Or if you do need time and space, do not wait too long. You don't need hours and hours and hours or days on end of not saying anything, because at that point you're just ruminating. You're either ruminating about what's going on or you're not thinking about it at all and not thinking to come back to it. If you're going to take space, be intentional about the time frame, probably 2 hours or less, and tell them you're going to come back to it so you can gather your thoughts and be productive and very solution focused with what's going on. Process your emotion about it, see how you feel, and also say, hey, if I felt a different way about this, how would this go? How can we compromise? That can help you to build trust with yourself gradually to know that you can do this and then stretch your capacity with emotions. So when you feel the urge to withdraw, pause. If you pause before shutting down, don't automatically feel that impulse or that defense to get up and go. Learn how to identify and label your emotions. You're not mad about everything. Let's go ahead and be honest. You need to ask, what am I truly feeling right now? If I'm mad about this, why? Do I feel jealous? Do I feel embarrassed? Do I feel scared? Do I feel fearful? You need to label what you are feeling, the initial emotion and what's underneath. And ask yourself, why? What is triggering me? Has this happened to me before? Does this feel similar to something else? Did I have this experience and it went bad? You have to practice staying in the moment, being present even when it feels uncomfortable. And also encourage yourself and say, this probably is going to feel uncomfortable, but it's going to feel uncomfortable until I get through it. But if I suppress it, I'm never actually moving forward with it. It's just staying there in the subconscious and unconscious part of my brain. And at some point, I'm going to blow up. And also learn how to express your needs clearly and directly. If you communicate, that feels much better than letting things fester. The person going to keep doing what you don't like, regardless, if you don't say anything. But at least give them the opportunity to be able to change. If they don't, okay, next step, we're going to go. But if you didn't give them a fair chance, because not everybody understands your triggers. Everybody has different experiences. So it might not be a one size fits all. You may have to explain. Not everything is common sense or a shared experience. We can't just say, oh, they should have known. No, not everybody does. So communicate. A lot of times your silence creates more damage than just being honest. You need to practice saying, I'm feeling overwhelmed right now. Let me take a moment. I will come back. This is actually hard for me to talk about right now, but you know what? I'm trying. Please be patient with me. I do care, but let me process this first. You don't have to be perfect at communication. You just need to be intentional. Let people know what's happening or what's going on with your emotions and your mental and your physical before just disappearing. That builds safety for both you and your partner. So say you don't have an avoidant attachment style, but you are with one or dealing with one. You don't want to enable or reinforce the cycle. So the best thing to do is not chase and don't over pursue. Respect their space without abandoning yourself. Don't suppress your needs, say them, but if they are not willing to move forward, you need to move on. If you don't set the boundary of communication, they're going to continue to withdraw regardless. So making sure that you are also saying, okay, I can give you space, but you do need to come back. We do need to continue this conversation. If you do have an avoidant attachment style, I just want you to remember that any fear that we have, whether it's abandonment, neglect, rejection, or just of the emotions in general, avoidance can be a protective mechanism, but also a defense mechanism. Avoidance is not a healthy coping skill. It's best to learn emotional regulation because what you may have thought protected you in the past or worked for you in the past is limiting your future. With awareness and reflection and practice, you can build a safe relationship with your emotions. Real connection requires presence, not distance. So if you want to build that, you have to also build that within yourself. Build that self-trust where you can learn how to identify and process your emotions. So then when other people like a partner or family or friends come to you with that, you'll be able to have a healthy relationship with those people because you'll be able to handle emotions and not look at it as a threat. That is it for me, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. If you related to anything in this video, comment below and I will comment back. I will see you in the next video. Bye.